Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This video clip of former Deputy Prime Minister Arthur Mutambara discussing the consequences of the 2017 military coup, and in his opinion, how it was a golden opportunity wasted, has been circulating on social media and has generated a lot of interest. I'll just play it so you can hear it for yourself.
The suggestion was that there was an opportunity for change. There was so much goodwill in the country, in Zimbabwe, so much goodwill in SADC, so much goodwill in the continent and globally. The departure of Mugabe, which goodwill was squandered by lack of intelligence, by lack of strategic thinking. A different leader in 2017 could have created an opportunity of dealing with the past. So I am very clear that there was an opportunity because it was a Zimbabwean moment, not a Zanu PF moment.
Not an individual moment.
Not at all. But however, there was lack of leadership on the part of those who were propelled into power by the coup. In particular, as we've discussed earlier on, Emerson Mnangagwa.
Tell me, having been close to Emerson Mnangagwa as Deputy Prime Minister, having seen the man, are you surprised that things have turned the way they did, particularly given the fact that you're saying there was an opportunity which was missed? And some of us thought he will realize that there's an opportunity, but he didn't. Are you surprised that he didn't see the opportunity?
With hindsight, I'm not surprised because the ability is very minimal there. The competence is very minimal there. He's not a very able man. In fact, there's one, the failure to take advantage of the opportunity presented by the coup, and the issue of ethnicity and tribalism. You know, people don't like tribalism. We went through the Zulu tribalism in this country for 37 years, where Juru and Mugabe were running this as a Zulu hegemony.
I'll stop it there. I think anyone who understands Zimbabwean politics cannot deny that the 2017 did present an opportunity for change. But if the truth be said, that opportunity was nothing compared to the opportunity that the 2008 to 2013 GNU presented for real meaningful change. You've got to remember here that the 2017 was an internal Zanu PF factional war. And for anyone to expect that Zanu PF would ever reform itself to become a democrat, I think, to say the least, is naive. The best opportunity for meaningful change in Zimbabwe was during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. That must be understood there. And it should also be emphasized here that Professor Arthur Mutambara was a senior MDC leader in that GNU. He was one of the two deputy prime ministers. The MDC leadership had the opportunity to propose democratic reforms during the GNU. They failed to implement even one reform. Not even one. Many people have speculated why. And the answer is really there for everyone to see. The MDC leaders were bribed by Mugabe. That is just the bottom line of it. There cannot be any denying it. Mugabe gave them the trappings of high office, the E-class Mercedes-Benz limos for all the deputy ministers, the two deputy prime ministers, and Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai himself. Very generous salaries and allowances for all the MDC leadership. And for Morgan Tsvangirai, the US $4 million mansion in Highlands. For most of us, up to now, we thought that was the limit of the bribe. But now information is beginning to come out on how the bribes were even more lucrative. How many of the MDC leaders got farms and other benefits. Of course, that was a bribe. And during the GNU itself, Zanu PF cronies boasted that the MDC leaders were not going to do anything about implementing the reforms. They admitted, they boasted that Mazwane MDC had been bribed and they were enjoying the benefits of being on the gravy train. They were not going to implement any reforms and rock the boat. And that is exactly what happened. And ever since the GNU debacle, the MDC CCC leaders have participated in flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, they were only giving Zanu PF legitimacy. Here is what Mutambara himself said regarding the MDC leaders' failure to implement the meaningful reforms. In the text that's showing at the bottom of your screen there, he admits that the MDC leaders took their eyes off the ball. It doesn't say that it was the bribes that persuaded them to take their eyes off the ball. And when you consider that the MDC leaders had 5 years during the GNU to implement the reforms, and considering that the reforms could have been proposed by any one of the MDC-T or MDC Mutambara members of parliament, ministers, senators, any one of the two deputy prime ministers and the prime minister himself. Any one of them could have tabled a reform proposal. They did not. and there were over 110 of them. And for them to be blinded for 5 years, that is unbelievable. But that is exactly what happened. MDC leaders failed to implement even one token reform in 5 years. And ever since the GNU debacle, they've participated in flawed elections out of greed. So when Arthur Mutambara is calling Mnangagwa dumb and lacks strategic thinking, yes, of course, he is right. I mean, one has got only to look at Mnangagwa and Zanu PF's track record. One cannot dispute that. But the truth is, this is just a case of Tweedle Dee calling Tweedledum dumb. And considering that Zanu PF outwitted the MDC leaders, Arthur Mutambara and company, when it really mattered during the GNU, getting them to participate in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy. I think it is fair to say which one of the two Tweedle brothers has the upper edge. I know who. I think the country knows who. The tragedy here, however, is that the country has found itself stuck for 45 years and counting with a corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical Zanu PF dictatorship. And at the present moment, our situation has been made worse by the failure of millions of Zimbabweans out there to realize that in the MDC CCC leadership, we have Zanu PF Team B in all but name, participating in flawed elections to give Zanu PF victory and legitimacy. After 25 years on the political stage, they failed to implement even one reform. And the failure by the people to realize that we have got Tweedledee and Tweedledum running the nation's affairs is at the heart of why the dictatorship has lasted 45 years and counting. If we are serious about change, we've got to be serious about getting a competent opposition that will implement the reforms. MDC CCC will never implement the reforms. Like Carroll's characters, Tweedledee, our Tweedledee and Tweedledum will never contradict each other. They would want to appear as if they are, but in reality, they are cooperating in keeping the Zanu PF dictatorship in power. And we should be smart enough to see that by now. Thank you.